I'm still going, I'm still doing the thing, but the sheer amount of pen names will tell you that publishers constantly look for a debut, they constantly look for freshness, they keep pretending I'm fresh, and raddled though I am, I go along with it. And still haven't quite got there, but they all get published, they all get read, so I'm certainly not complaining.
Hello, I'm Laura Shavin and this is the Offcuts Drawer, the show that looks inside a writer's bottom drawer to find the bits of work they never finished, had rejected or couldn't quite find a home for. We bring them to life, hear the stories behind them and learn how these random pieces of creativity pave the way to subsequent success. My guest today is known by multiple different author names, nom de plumes or noms de plume, all of them writers differentiated by genre. She's Juliet Ashton, but also Claire Sandys, Bernie Gaughan and M.B. Vincent, and the original persona under which she was first published, Bernadette Strachan. To date, she has written 28 novels, starting with The Reluctant Landlady in 2004, cosy titles that include What Would Mary Berry Do?, Snowed In for Christmas and Diamonds and Daisies, through to later novels that include the more quirkily titled Jess Castle and the Eyeballs of Death. For the stage, she co-wrote the book for the musical Next Door's Baby with her late husband Matthew Strachan, which was based on her own radio play. This has been produced at the Orange Tree Theatre in London and again at the Tabard Theatre. Her other musical, About Bill, was also staged at the Tabard recently and starred West End veteran Kim Ismay. And finally, not content with the 5 already mentioned, she's added 2 more to her harem of author identities: Alice Cavanagh, responsible for the 2023 novel The House That Made Us, and Catherine Miller, who has written a trilogy of books which are prequels to the Archers series on Radio 4, recently turned into a 2-part radio drama, with the possibility of reaching our TV screens as well. So, Bernadette, Bernie, Juliet, Claire, MB, Alice and Catherine, welcome all of you to the Offcuts Drawer.
Thank you. We're all very happy to be here.
So you've just moved home. Did that give you the impetus to go through old boxes and find actual paper copies of old projects? Or am I presuming you're 182 and actually was everything neatly organised on a computer or online?
No, there were lots of boxes and actually I had to not give in because there were so many of them. And I found myself poring over the notes for a novel I never wrote in 2005. So actually I dragged myself away and also had to chuck out a lot because we downsized. So I kept every notebook, which is insane, as if I'm Arthur Miller, and I'm going to lead them to Yale or something. So I actually just kept 1 or 2 notebooks from each novel because I do a mixture of longhand and on the screen. So yeah, I had to get rid of a lot. And once I looked at them, most of it was, smileys and, sort of insert humour here and things like that. So it's no great loss, but it was quite sobering.
Well, I imagine you have to be pretty organised if you're juggling so many different professional personae.
Yeah, you do. And, I'm sure all the writers you talk to say this and you know this yourself. It's a job. You have to be organised. You have to get up and you have to turn up. But yes, when you're writing 2 books a year and one's a cosy crime and the other is romantic, you do have to change your hats with great fluidity. So yeah, I'm used to it, but that's one of the most fun parts, actually. I don't find it a problem. I find that a complete plus because you don't get bored.
I did think 7 different names, presumably 7 different personalities. I'm thinking like Snow White's dwarves. Have you got like a sleepy, grumpy, happy? Do you sort of inhabit them as different personalities themselves, or are you more practical about it?
I think of myself, I always remember Margaret Rutherford in Blithe Spirit saying when she goes anywhere on a bicycle, she ups with her heart and over the hill. And that's how I feel in the morning. I think, well, who am I this morning? Oh, I'm the dreamily romantic, I don't know, decorating a house or something. Or I am the detective who's working out what the DNA is. So yeah, it really helps to sort of sit down, centre yourself and get into it. Normally what I do is I read a few pages back and then I just sort of gallop. But I'm very fast. I plan to maniac degree, actually. I overplan. But that does mean that once you start, I'm sprinting through the whole thing. And that's the fun bit. That's the really fun bit.
Right, well, let's kick off with your first offcut. Can you tell us, please, what it's called, what genre it was written for, and when it was written?
This is a radio play, and it's called, rather pretentiously in hindsight, Reflection in an Acton Loft, and it was written in 2019.
Interior, very old cottage. There are other people milling about. We hear Judy's voice in her head.
I look better in this mirror. Softer. My hair looks less like a boy's and more, well, chic, I suppose. The glass is all pitted and marked, and the silvering's falling away. So the world looks pastel and dusty. I wish I could touch it. I'd love to touch it. But one of those elderly volunteers would waddle over, pointing to the sign and saying it was Jane Austen's actual mirror and it's very precious and keep your steaming mitts off it. And they'd be right. Things only last this long if they're cared for. Imagine, this looking glass actually reflected Jane Austen herself, her real face, her eyes and her expression. I know Simon thinks I'm bonkers coming here to Chawton to her museum over and over, but it's because of this mirror. The other stuff is fine, all correct period and style, but this was hers. And look at the way her bedroom, her actual real bedroom, looks in the mirror. So much more characterful than it does in this raw, sunshiny afternoon. If I lean to the left, I can see the little iron bed, just like the one the poor thing died in, tiny and bruised, hardly making a dent in the bedclothes. I could almost be there in 18... looking after her, if it wasn't for all these people around me in polyester separates and bum bags.
Interior, busy, reception area. Judy is at work, answering calls on a modern switchboard. We hear her interior voice, interrupted by interaction between her and others.
I'm a Jane Austen fan, you see. A proper one. Not...
There is loud beeping.
Oh, hang on. Body Biz Spa, promoting wellness for all. How may I help? Just putting you through. A proper Jane Austen fan. Not of the films, not of the TV stuff, not even of Colin Firth in drenched breeches. The books. The books do it for me. I was too young, really, when I picked up my first one, Emma. I fell in love with...
More loud beeping.
Oh, hang on. Body Biz Spa, promoting wellness for all. How may I help? He's not in on Thursdays. I'm sure Janine can help. Putting you through. Just totally fell in love with Emma. The language, so witty and so correct. Jane always said exactly what she meant, never scrabbled around. It was pithy, that's what it was. I gobbled all the books up. Then the biographies, the letters. I can quote her comments to Cassandra. They were so close, those sisters, like sisters can be. Good morning.
I need a towel.
Oh, there you go.
Have they fixed locker number 12 in the changing room?
I don't know, madam. Probably.
I hope so. It's my favourite.
I love it at Body Biz. All these nice people. I people watch, you see. Because I write. Excuse me. May I see your membership card, please? No, I'm afraid I have to see it. Oh, God, we've got to run ahead of the spinning class. Hang on.
Judy leaves her desk suddenly, knocking over things.
Madam!
Later.
Tea break at last. Not much tea gets drunk. It's all scribble, scribble, scribble. I'm working on my 4th novel, based very closely on the style of my heroine, Jane Austen. It's a kind of epic about a fierce love between star-crossed estate agents. Freehold of the Heart. Good title, I think. Or is it terrible?
This is, well, I thought it was like the beginning of what they used to call a chick lit type book. I mean, Jane Austen was sort of the patron saint of those kind of books, their favourite writer and all that. But then I looked back on your notes and thought, oh, hold on, this is not that at all. Can you explain to the listener what this project was, please?
Yes, I can, gentle listener. This is a very dear thing to my heart, that, yes, all chick lit, which we're not supposed to say anymore. We're supposed to say commercial women's fiction, but I'm very happy with chick lit. Everybody loves Jane Austen, but there is an assumption that you love her for the sugary pastel dresses and the romance. And actually, I did really, really love her and always have for the genius. So it was partly a reaction to how annoyed that made me. But yes, I went to Chawton many times with my long-suffering husband in tow, and I always looked in that mirror, thrilled to think that Jane Austen looked in it. And I used to think, I wish I could nick this. I've got a criminal mind, what can I say? So my heroine actually does steal it, which is very unlikely, but she gets away with it. She props it up in her attic bedroom. She's a terrible relationship with her sister. Her husband doesn't support her, is never home, is always away on business. She's very neglected, and she pretends things are okay, and she's actually very unhappy. And she slowly dies like Jane Austen did until she disappears, and there's no reflection in the mirror at all. So yeah, it does veer away from chick lit quite speedily. Perhaps why it didn't get put on, Laura.
So it started out as a sort of, oh, is this going to be Jane Austen helps this woman either become a writer or find out the love of her life? No. This
kills her.
She kills her in a horrid, nasty sort of, she basically
absolutely.
fades away. Wow. Yeah. And so you wrote the whole play.
I wrote the whole play. I always write the whole everything. I never half write anything. I write the whole everything, which is why if you had 2 years of airtime, we could fill it with my stuff. But yes, I wrote the whole play, and yeah, my agent wasn't mad about it. I sent it to a couple of, you know the way it goes. You can send it to people you know who might send it to people they know. And I think it was a mixed bag. And if I'm really honest, I never expected it to get made. It was just something I really wanted to write. We have to be quite strict about genre. It's a business. It's a depressing business at times. But yeah, it did straddle 2 genres, and neither. Quite happy.
When you're saying disciplined about genre, you mean when you're writing novels or everywhere within the writing?
Well, certainly in novels. I mean, strictly in novels, and in my experience elsewhere. Especially if you introduce humour. I mean, I have seen very successful humour drama and humour crime and humour thriller, but they're not as pure, I think, and they don't gain as much attention or get as many green lights as a purer thing, because the worst thing a producer wants to be is confused by what you've written. They want to go, I know exactly who will listen to this. I know exactly how much to spend on this. So yes, I do think, unless you've got a track record, if you want to try and hit the spot, it's best to be clear about your intent. And I don't think, much as I enjoyed that play, and it really was great hearing it dramatised, that was great fun, I always thought, this is not going to go on. You do, don't you, when you write things? Sometimes you think, not going to go.
Right, time for another offcut. Can you tell us about this one, please?
Well, this is more radio. This is a comedy, and it's called Number 89, and I wrote it 1,000 years ago in 1985.
My name is Nancy. I'm 20-something, 5-foot-something, and I have no distinguishing marks. I live by the river, in what the estate agent described as a spacious mansion flat. I don't own it, I rent it, so there are in my life 2 very special people, my flatmates. Breakfast time is the only time when Joanna, Susie and I are all together, when we can relax and enjoy each other's company and discuss matters of great import.
Oh, no milk again. Why is there never any milk in this place?
Oh dear. Oh, Susie, I think we've got some coffee whitener.
Oh, my cornflakes.
There's no cornflakes either, so you're in luck.
Oh, God. Would it be asking too much to try and scrape up a boiled egg?
Oh dear. Oh, Susie, the last egg went into Bernard's quiche.
Great. I starve and your fancy man stuffs himself with quiche.
You're not starving, Susie. God knows Bernard's not fancy, and anyone who's tasted Joanna's quiche knows better than to stuff themselves with it.
Oh, Nancy.
Make yourself a slice of toast.
Oh, yes, some lovely toast and marmalade, Susie.
Lovely, delicious, luxurious toast. I can hardly wait. Why is the grill so filthy?
Presumably because you neglected to scrub it after that sausage orgy last night.
Oh, it's always my fault, isn't it? I only left it because I had to get to bed and rest my voice. I do have a gig tonight, you know.
Yeah, Suze does have a gig tonight, Nancy. She has a gig tonight, you know.
Resting for this gig also stopped you taking out the rubbish?
The rubbish?
The rubbish?
Are we going to say everything 3 times? Just so I know, just so I know, just so I know.
So I didn't take the rubbish out. Beat me, shoot me, leave out my bones for the vultures to pick at.
The flat's starting to smell like a Calcutta back street.
Oh, no. Oh, really?
Anyway, you were at home all day doing sod all, Joanna. What's stopping you taking the rubbish out or cleaning the grill?
Well, the rotor. I mean,
Oh, the precious rotor. It's made out by Nancy, not Moses. She didn't stagger down from Mount Sinai with it. It's chalked onto a blackboard which has a transfer of a Care Bear on it. You can ignore the blessed rotor, you know.
Susie, pack it in. She's going to cry.
No, please. anything but that. Don't, Joanna. I'm sorry.
Joe, don't. Shush.
Just because I don't have a job. I can't do everything. I really try. But Bernard's had a virus, and that budgie's more work than he looks.
Poor Joanna. It's a strain for her to be unemployed, to be the odd one out, to be alive, really. Particularly to be alive in the vicinity of someone like Susie, who's rather, sparky. It's the artistic temperament, you see. The artistic temperament of a builder's yard typist who sings in pubs at night. Maybe you'll hear Susie sing later. Maybe you'll be lucky enough to be horribly murdered first. My day promised to be a gruelling one. I had to leave Joanna snivelling on the formica and yoke myself between the shafts of Bootle, Bargle, Hefty and Warnes. When I became a copywriter, fresh-faced and newly sprung from university, nobody told me I was selling my soul to the devil, that I was prostituting my only skill, that I would one day write a commercial for dog toilet paper.
Ah, the gals in the flat chair scenario. Was this you?
It was me. It was me and my two cousins. Very much me and my two cousins. I mean, the whole budgie thing. I could write War and Peace. But do you know it's really fascinating listening to that? It's so of its time. The humour is so of its time. You could pinpoint that as the 80s. I sent this off completely cold. I was working in radio advertising at the time. I was in a production house. And I sent it completely cold to a producer who produced comedy I liked. And she sent me back such an encouraging letter. It was wonderful. She said it was this, it was that. In short, I loved it and I want to hear more. But this is a topic that is tackled by a lot of first-time writers. So if you can think of something else and write something else, I'd love to hear that. And I, as you can imagine, went straight back to the desk and, well, the kitchen table in this case, and scribbled and scribbled and scribbled. And by the time I'd finished it, she'd moved on and I'd sent it to a guy who took over and he sent me back. I will never forget what he said. He said, "Thank you for this. It did raise a titter," he said. And then he turned it down. I mean, he really hated it. But that stopped me in my tracks. And instead of just saying sod you and carrying on, I kind of let it lie and went back to doing my little stories for weekly magazines, which I was really had a huge cottage industry going. But yeah, that was really interesting. I mean, that wouldn't get made now. All the jokes were really obvious because they were made 1,000 times during those days. But it's lovely to hear. It's a period piece as much as crinolines are. And I think what she was trying to say to me was that she got a lot of this and you need to have an original idea. You need to think outside, literally raising your head from the table and describing what goes on around you. But it was super encouraging and I'm really grateful to her. And I think that producers should never underestimate the impact of what they say. I don't mean they should be careful or anything. I just mean they should preen themselves and think, yeah, I made someone happy with that one word of encouragement. It really is. It's important. It matters.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned just now about the writing of the short stories. Is this for the Just 17 magazine stuff?
Just 17.
Yes. So what happened there?
Oh, another bitter story. I had, I just again.
Keep them coming.
Oh, I can get very twisted. I've been sitting there, I had one of those great jobs. I was working with two guys. I was like the girl in the office, literally. I did everything. They paid me really well. They took me out to all the restaurants with them. They treated me like a little sister. And because of that, I was abounding with unearned confidence. And so I sent a soap opera idea to Just 17, which was around the corner from us.
Now, to those people who aren't as old as us, explain what Just 17 is.
Just 17 was like a precursor to Heat magazine, which of course is now defunct as well. I have to explain Heat before I explain Just 17. Just 17 was one of those sort of magazines. They had the gossip and they had fashion stuff and they had lots and lots of silly photographs of celebrities. It's where that all started, of sort of pointing out what celebrities were wearing and who was going out with who. And their office was exactly what you would wish. It's all full of girls wearing too fashiony clothes, laughing their heads off and going out to lunch. And I just sent it to them and it came out every week, amazingly. Can you imagine a weekly magazine? And it was kind of huge. Like all the girls I knew read it. And it just seemed to me it always had a short story. And I thought, I'll punt a soap opera.
Right.
Again,
So when you said a soap opera, so it wasn't a photo story.
No.
It was written in words.
It's actual words.
Actual words. And it was basically, a saga that happened every week.
Yes.
And you wrote it. And were the lead characters or the lead character, were they 17?
They were not. They were older. They were flat sharing.
Ah,
Do you see?
I see
Literally
now.
Couldn't get away. I couldn't get away. I thought, sod you, BBC. Someone's going to buy this. So, yeah, it was literally the house I lived in. And she said, I'm looking for a serial. Yeah, give me 5 of these, 200 quid a go. I couldn't believe it. And it was great. It was all fun and games until indeed someone did lose an eye, and it was me. Suddenly, I got a call saying, I'm going to give it away. I'm going to give it to, and she named a guy who was on the writing staff there. And I said, were you sure? She said, yeah, he's got more experience than you. It was literally done like that. And I said,
whoa, let me say. So hold on, you sent an idea for an ongoing story to a magazine. You actually gave them the plot and the characters, etc. They went, yes. They agreed to pay you £200 or whatever to write per episode. And then they gave that story and those ideas to someone else to write. Are they allowed to do that?
Well, I did 4 episodes and thrilled skinny with the whole thing, doing it at work with the guys cheering me on. And then the phone call came. And it never occurred to me until you just mentioned it that perhaps I owned it. And they couldn't do that. But to quote my grandmother, God pays debts without money. And actually paid them with money this time because for some reason I stayed on the payroll and I kept getting £200 per week. And I remember mentioning this to my mum and she went ashen and she said, tell them, it's fraud. So very, very reluctantly I told them. And I said, do I have to pay you back? And they said, no, don't worry about it.
But did they stop paying you the £200?
They did stop paying me. Yeah, God damn it. So, yeah, but it was a learning curve. And also I carried on giving them weekly stories, just, one-offs for years.
You weren't sort of cast back into the cold?
No. I'm still in the fold and giving them very, very genre-based stories where people either got together happily at the end or one of them died. There was no in between.
As it is in life, always.
Yes, it's my relationship history.
OK, then, right, well, let's move on and have another offcut. What is this?
This is a stage play, and this was about 2006, maybe a little earlier, and it's called Troubled.
Exterior street at night. Mary strolls over to take Pat's arm, both shivering against the cold as they walk along. Mike, a soldier, nervous with a rifle at the ready, is manning a roadblock. Mary and Pat don't see him yet.
Did you see me Uncle Brain? Head thrown back, bellowing. I never heard Danny Boy murdered so comprehensively.
Leave him alone. He's a grand voice.
A church bell begins to toll. Beneath the dialogue it tolls 11 o'clock.
That's 11 o'clock, Pat. Me mother'll go through you for a shortcut. We promised 10:30. We promised.
We should have gone down Shank Hill.
There's too many riots down there these nights. This is safer. Oh.
Mary and Pat notice the roadblock, hear the crackling of the soldier's walkie-talkie, take in the cocked rifle.
Where are you going? What's your business?
I'm walking me girlfriend home.
Let's see some ID.
Why? I'm walking me girlfriend home in me hometown.
Show him, Pat.
She gets out her ID.
Mary O'Halloran. Oh this and oh that. Bigara.
It means son of.
Pat.
Your ID, mate. Come on, then you can get home and canoodle on her doorstep.
He's obviously never met me ma.
Pat sullenly hands over his ID. Mike looks at it perfunctorily and hands it back.
That's all in order. Don't be so touchy, Paddy.
Me name's Pat.
That's what I said. Paddy. Run along, there's good kids.
Mary and Pat walk away, Pat looking resentfully back. Soldier appears to whisper urgently in Mike's ear.
There's no point cheeking them, Pat.
Even poets have tempers, Mary. They shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be bloody here.
Oi!
Soldier grabs Pat, throws him to the floor, plants a boot in his back and points a rifle at the back of his head. Mike contains Mary without brute force, pushing her to the other side of the stage behind him. It's important that her face is obscured from Soldier's vision.
Are you sure? You sure it's him?
Soldier nods.
Right, your boyfriend's wanted, darling. Dangerous.
That's me brother.
His brother. His brother is on the run. You're making a mistake.
My mate arrested him once before. He knows him.
Pat's never been arrested. You're making a mistake.
Me brother! You want me brother!
Soldier moves his boot to Pat's head.
Please, honest to God, he's not political. He keeps out of all this. Check his ID again.
Go home, love.
Soldier drags Pat to his feet. Mike pushes Mary in opposite direction, not too harshly.
Tell me, Ma!
Well, you tell his ma her baby boy's been naughty and won't be home tonight. He's going for a little holiday in the Kesh.
Pat!
Soldier drags Pat off stage. Mike exits. Mary takes off her coat and tosses it as abrupt scene change to interior disco.
So, Northern Ireland. I know your maiden name was Bernadette Gaughan, which is very Irish, but you didn't grow up in Ireland yourself, did you?
I did not, no. But I tell you, it's got very long tentacles, Ireland. Yeah, my mother was from Dublin and my dad was from Mayo, which is on the west, they're like the east and the west coast. And to be honest, when I was growing up, there was a very, very specific attitude to, especially in Dublin, which was, we don't want to hear about the north. It was like the troubled or irritating brother who was always in trouble. And I felt terrible when I grew up that I didn't know much about it. So I studied it, and obviously you get friends when you're older from everywhere, and I had a very good friend from Northern Ireland. And I really felt strongly about the fact that they were all just people, and especially they were young people together, and they were falling in love with each other and they were not being allowed to do it. It seemed preposterous. So yeah, it was quite passionately felt, but yeah, it feels quite juvenile, and I wasn't juvenile when I wrote it. So I think is a stab at sort of getting into much deeper waters. And it's David Bowie's fault, because I used to, when I first listened to Heroes, I used to imagine it as being about the Berlin Wall. And I remember hearing about people whose their loved ones were murdered. And I've always had a very strong feeling that the best revenge, if somebody kills somebody you love, is to get them to love you, and then you kill yourself.
That's one hell of a plan.
So that's what this girl was going to do. And it was also about the incredible sort of whimsicality of the Irish, which is just a coin's turn away from complete bleakness. And so it was sort of a mystical and very brutal kind of treatise on how love gets really screwed up in war, which makes it so much better than it was. But, it's all an ambition, isn't it? Every work of art is an ambition. But that was the idea.
And what was your childhood like? Did you come from the cliched big Irish family? We're all sitting around being incredibly witty and basically the cast of Derry Girls. But you didn't grow up in Ireland, did you?
No. I was born in Fulham in London, and my parents met in London, and they brought me up there. And I did come from the archetypal big Irish family, but our part of it was just me, my mum, and my dad. So I was like the unicorn. And if you can begin to imagine how spoiled I was, you haven't scratched the surface. And I was spoiled by my parents, then I was spoiled by my aunties, then my grandmother got in with the spoiling. So it was great. I mean, it was very Derry Girls in that there is no privacy, and everything is up for discussion. Everything you do say, if you walk across a room, you get 18 comments. But I only got that some of the time. Most of the time, it was a very quiet house with the dog and my parents and lots of books and too much food. And so it was nice. It was almost like I holidayed in it. But as I've grown older, I realise I am very Irish in that the way I think about things and the way I relate to people. And it's interesting to see my daughter. I married a completely English person, but I can see it cropping up unstoppably in her. And I don't know if you feel that, Laura, that as you get older, your just sort of inherent culture starts like bursting forth with the chin hairs. And I'm just really enjoying it. So yes, I feel like I had a very Irish background, but at the same time, much more sedate than your traditional thoughts of an Irish childhood.
And were there any writers or creative types in there? Any great-grandparents who turn out to be Brendan Behan or something like that?
I don't know how strongly I can say no. I mean, a long line of carpenters and painters and basically genteel working class people. That's what it was. And I mean, also a lot of poverty in the generations before me, and then they got okay. But having said that, my Uncle John once got paid a shilling by Brendan Behan. He met him on the bus, and Brendan Behan had just got his typewriter out of the pawn shop, and he gave it to my Uncle John, and he said, "Here's a shilling, take it to me, Ma, or I will pawn it again."
Right, okay.
So yeah, it was very lots of Dublin stuff, lots of countryside stuff, but no, not one single creative person. We've got a lot of musicians actually, a lot of musicians, lots of singers, but nobody has written a word except me.
Right, time for another offcut. Tell us about this one.
This one is it's another odd one. This is a novel very close to my heart, which I wrote in about 1999, probably 5 years before it, and it's called Tiddles Gets Life.
He stared. It stared back at him. As incongruous in Pete's damp, custard-coloured quarters as Gina Lollobrigida, the kitten leapt out of the open box, paws high. It goose-stepped here and there, suddenly fast, then still. Every soft inch of the animal quivered with curiosity, as if it might fart question marks. It was agog at the plastic-coated iron leg of Pete's bed. It held out a paw to bat the roll of toilet paper standing by the stainless steel pedestal. It stared up at him, unafraid and seemingly fascinated by his big, soft face. "It's not an it," Pete reminded himself. This thing was a girl. A lady? A child, really, only just torn from its mum. It's a she. A she in his cell. That was a first. "Who are you?" he asked, softly, afraid his voice might knock her off her fat, befurred feet. "You're Tiddles," he answered for her, the name coming so naturally to his lips that it was surely preordained. "My Tiddles," he said, quieter still, in case the morbid plasterwork should soak up this new tone of voice and broadcast it to the wing. How in the name of God was he supposed to pick her up? Tiddles was so small and Pete's hands were so big. He flexed his fingers, long, elegant enough in design. They were stained by too many cigarettes and unhappy wanks beneath cheap bedclothes. "Love," said his right hand, in dirty blue. "Hate," more convincingly suggested the left. Paid £1 a day just to be Pete Kennedy, he made no decisions, had no responsibility. His meals were prepared for him, his clothing washed, ironed badly and returned. There was no manual strapped to the kitten, nobody looking over Pete's shoulder. He needed a diagram. His own instincts had led him to this place after all, and couldn't be relied upon. Rubbing his nose hard as if he wanted to rub it off, Pete counselled himself to be calm. This morning felt important. It glittered. The kitten's debut was sharp and certain in a life defined by its lack of everything. Deadlines, change, urgency. The only other distinct moments were conflicts. This moment was fluffy and strange and funny. That took a minute to sink in. Tiddles was comical. She had funny bones under her tabby stripes. Pete's nana had used that expression about some god-awful comic on the screeching 1970s television she'd sat as close to as if they were lovers. Across a chasm of 30 years, Pete understood what she meant. Some people can make you laugh just by doing ordinary things. Tiddles was one of those people.
This was a very interesting piece, and certainly your description of what happens in the story, again, takes a turn that nobody listening to that bit would have any idea of. So tell us what happens to Tiddles and friend.
Well, the genesis was I read a long-form, really fascinating article about lifers in American jails having a terrible trouble with violence because the stakes were very low for them. They were going to be in prison forever, so they may as well act up. So they wanted a way to get them engaged with life so that they could live more calmly. And they introduced a thing that if you were good for long enough, good in inverted commas, whatever that means in prison, you were given a kitten. And I know, not very fair on the kitten, but it turned into like a cat lover's circle. They became obsessed and in love with their kittens as they grew into cats, and the cats were cosseted, they were kept clean, they were fed, and of course the prisoners knew that if they got into fights or if they disobeyed authority, that the cats would be taken away. So it had a massive impact on their behaviour, but also, and this was something that really fascinated me, on their feeling. They felt happier and they felt love, like genuine, clean, ordinary love for some other little thing that they were responsible for. And it really moved me because I think men in general, I mean, we're changing things now, the way we talk openly about it, but men in general have always been very in two minds about being frank about their needs emotionally, or even having needs that emotional. So I thought it was lovely that these men who had lived in a really grim and smelly, violent and transactional place suddenly had a fluffy kitten with big eyes looking at them for everything. So that fascinated me. So I thought, yeah, we'll start there. And it just grew. Tiddles is given to this guy who's imprisoned for life for the horrific murder of an elderly lady. He robbed from her, but he was really violent with it. And he can't face it. He can't talk about what he actually did to her. And he kind of blames her, sort of getting on his nerves, as it were. She was a neighbour. And as he softens up with Tiddles, he becomes able to talk to his therapists in prison about it, becomes absolutely besotted with Tiddles. And then we start hearing Tiddles' inner voice. And Tiddles' inner voice is that of the old lady he killed, because, as always happens, don't you hate it when this happens, Laura? The murder victim has been reincarnated as a kitten.
Again.
I know, that old chestnut. And she is being, of course, cared for by Pete, who is finding new dimensions to his soul and falling in love. And she hates Pete. And by the end, she engineers a riot and the prison burns down.
So whoa. Back up. So, she's a kitten. Well, presumably even as a fully formed cat, she's going to have some limitations as to how she could do something like she creates an entire riot.
She does. Tiddles, without even an opposable thumb, manages to get the entire prison rioting. Basically, she fakes being injured in his enemy's cell. And Pete thinks that this guy has hurt Tiddles, and of course it looks like he has. And so there's great sort of enmity between them, even more than before. And Pete tries to control himself and he can't. And Tiddles does it again. And basically Tiddles, of course, is sinuous and sinewy and can go all through the prison. And she manages, I can't quite remember, I know it all fell together very well, Laura, very, very, very believable. But yeah, the whole thing burns down, and Pete's on the roof looking for Tiddles, and Tiddles is sauntering off down an alleyway as the whole area is lit by the flames of Pete's demise. So yeah, she gets her own back on, and quite spectacularly, and fair play to her, I think.
Yes, that's an unusual turn up for the book, shall
well,
we say.
That's what my agent said, and I was always saying to her, I'm still working on Tiddles, and she would be very, well, don't neglect your other stuff. And she didn't show it to anyone. She didn't show it to a single person. So that is in a drawer, waiting for its time.
Well, who knows? Maybe some publishers listening to this podcast go, do you know what we need? Our company needs a book like Tiddles Gets Life.
We need a reincarnated cat burning down a prison. That's what's going to get Netflix on its feet.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But then after that, you published your first actual book.
Yeah. Actual book,
which was called
The Reluctant Landlady.
And did that have any reincarnated cats or prison riots in there?
Nary a one, not a one. No, shelved.
Right, but that was a romantic novel.
Yeah, it was chick lit, and we were still allowed to say chick lit then. And it was the next big thing, and it was touted everywhere, and highly exaggerated versions of how many copies it had sold were sent out, and it did really well. And I had an amazing editor. She was called Philippa Pride, and she was also Stephen King's editor, which gives you an idea of the power she had. But then Philippa got rid of everyone except Stephen. She had sort of changes in her career, and I was then handed over. And when there's a changing of the guard, it's not so good to be inherited. It's much better when somebody finds you. So things got it. I'm not complaining. I have consistently published books ever since, but I wasn't like the next big thing. Suddenly I was, and I also have to look after you, which did change things. So yeah, it was, if it hadn't been so exciting at the beginning, I think it would have been a lot better for me. But as it was, I felt like, I don't know, I felt like Noel Coward when he was a child star and he was billed as Destiny's tot, and suddenly I wasn't anyone's tot. And so it was quite humbling, and in retrospect, really useful, a really good life lesson.
Because 28 novels later.
Yeah, I'm still going. I'm still doing the thing, but yeah, it's but the sheer amount of pen names will tell you that's, publishers constantly look for a debut. They constantly look for freshness. They keep pretending I'm fresh. And raddled though I am, I go along with it. And still haven't quite got there. But they all get published, they all get read. So I'm certainly
When you
not
say got
complaining.
there, you mean what, top of the Sunday Times bestseller list?
Exactly, or on it even. But yeah, I mean, I have readers and I have a career, but I don't have any name recognition. How could you with the umpteen names? But even so, and I'd like that. But more than anything else, I like being able to keep for myself and to have something to do every day. So I'm plugging away, Laura.
Well, I'm trying not to feel sorry for you. I mean, 28 books. Are you sold in airport bookshops?
Some of them are. Yeah, the most recent 3 are. The Archers ones.
Well, there you go. I'm sorry, my sympathy's just gone out the window. So you're obviously doing extremely well.
I'll put away my tiny violin.
Yes. Right, well, we've come to your final offcut now. Can you tell us about this one, please?
This is a TV screenplay, and it's called Turpin, and it was written around 2019.
Interior, Dick's house. Kitchen, day. Martha is busy making a list, counting jars on a shelf, pondering, scribbling. Jane is shelling peas at the large scrubbed table. It is sunny and pleasant.
The kitchen lass can do that, Miss Jane. Don't dirty your white fingers.
It's calming, Martha. You used to sit me on the barrel over there and tell me I wasn't allowed to talk until I was done.
That was then, and this is now. The lady of the manor won't shell peas.
Then I must make the most of my freedom before I'm expected to press flowers or read poetry or embroider my own straitjacket.
Honey, we're nearly out of honey.
Dick enters, scowling.
Half-wit, dunderhead, fool.
And good morning to you.
Dick slams down the tiara on the table. Martha and Jane gape.
Is that...
Martha involuntarily looks about her.
It is, madam. Booty from last night's jape.
What are you doing with it, sir?
What do you think, woman? I stole it last night. Dragged it off that ugly aristocrat myself.
Father!
Oh, Lord Jane, were you out the day they delivered irony? This was left with poor widow Fleetwood by our kindly highwayman.
Surely that's a good deed, Father. The poor woman could buy herself a home with the proceeds of such a bauble.
Oh, she wouldn't need a home. She'd have a nice cosy coffin. If any of Prothero's men caught an old widow woman with such a trinket, they'd march her to the gallows.
Surely not. This is England.
Aye, England, where the poor have no voice, where they hang old women.
Dick feels his neck, suppresses a shudder.
That young fool riding around our woods nearly got an innocent killed.
Dick bangs the table.
And you, sir, I wouldn't care to be in your shoes if Prothero had picked you up with that in your pocket.
He can't hurt you, Father.
Dick and Martha exchange a look.
You're a man of substance, and you have nothing to hide. You could have explained that you simply...
Simply? Nothing simple with the likes of Prothero. He's been looking for a chance to jump on me, and this...
He puts the tiara on his head.
Would hand it to him on a plate. Your head's empty, Jane. Life's not all singing and shelling peas.
Dick sweeps the peas off the table. Jane jumps up, shocked, and runs out the door.
Jane, I didn't...
We watch Jane race across the yard and jump the gate into a field.
You never did let those skirts get in your way, girl. I handled that magnificently, eh, Martha? I can hear you thinking it.
Take that off. It doesn't suit you.
Dick has forgotten the tiara. He takes it off.
Where does she go, Martha, when she runs off for hours on end like a tinker child? Where does she go?
Right. A TV series about, well, Dick Turpin, and in this case, the daughter of Dick Turpin. Tell us about that.
Yes. Dick has reformed and thinks no one knows he used to be a highwayman. And his daughter certainly doesn't know it. But he doesn't know that she's a highwaywoman.
What?
Which is, well, yes, I know.
Excuse me?
Get out of here. When she runs off like a tinker child, that's what she's doing. And she's about to be married off to a local bigwig who is a perfectly nice young man, but she doesn't want to marry him. She wants to have a wild, crazy life. So yeah, it was about the pair of them circling each other, that's father and daughter circling each other, starting to think, hang on, is this a family business? What's going on? But Dick being very conservative because he knows this could mean death, or their houses stolen from them and everyone in prison and hanged. And she's, of course, much more giddy and thinks they can get away with it forever. So, yeah, it's very Saturday evening. It's that sort of early Saturday evening romp where they always seem to have huge budgets, always lots of horses in them. And also real throwback to a film I was obsessed with as a child called The Wicked Lady.
Ah, yes, Margaret, what's it, Fontaine, isn't it?
Margaret something. Oh, we're gonna have to look this up now, Laura. Margaret something, the mom at the beauty spot.
I'm on the.
Go on, look it up.
Oh, it's called The Wicked Lady.
It's called The Wicked Lady. It's Margaret.
Rutherford. No, not Rutherford.
No, very different Margaret.
Margaret Lockwood.
Margaret
course.
Lockwood, and
That's
that
the woman.
Wonderful actor with the plummy voice in it as well.
Hold on, we haven't got his name.
James.
No, that's the Wicked. That's Michael Winner's version. Did you know there was a Michael Winner version?
Jesus.
Of 1983. Not Mel Ferret. No, hold on. Oh, James Mason, of course. James Mason.
And he was her lover. And I just loved it. It was all sort of rushing out of rooms and cracking whips and a hat on the side with a feather in it. And I just thought it'd be brilliant. Well, if I was an actress, I'd love to be playing that role. So yes, again, it was kind of comedy. It would have been a serial. I mean, the end of the series would always be Dick or Jane escaping from the gallows. And it was just fun to write. And it did get sent to people, but it never got any interest at all. I think there were probably half a dozen other similar things circling. It's now I know that it's kind of a perennial thing to happen.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, there's a lot of it. I mean, there's 2 Highwayman things on at the moment. There was that Noel Fielding one that was cancelled and that really lovely one.
Renegade Nell
as well, which was lovely. So, yeah, I don't think I was the right person to write it, but it was fun. And I'm very, very proud of the line booty from last night's jape. And to hear it said so actorishly is a delight. But that's the thing, like all that language. And do you know who else is in there? Lorna Doone. We did Lorna Doone when I was about 9. And that being out in the wind, being a girl and having to struggle with all your 50 petticoats, but still jumping on the horse and getting away. I just love all that.
Right. But you're working on another TV project at the moment based on The Archers.
Yes.
Got 3 books set in Radio 4 hit soap opera The Archers Village of Ambridge, taking place before The Archers started. Now, that is an excellent idea because The Archers has a huge audience in this country anyway, very popular. I mean, it feels like the prequel options are endless.
Well, that's what I think. We're trying to get it away. It just so happens that my agent also is the agent of the editor of The Archers, and she kind of got us both in a room and said, this could be great, couldn't it? So we did it with the Beebs' blessing, and I had the staff on speed dial to talk about what kind of tractor would they have had before the war. Bovine diseases. I actually have a folder of bovine diseases. And of course, keeping, the kind of lineage, the pedigree of the families straight, because people take it, as they should, incredibly seriously. It's a delightful world to dip your toe in. I can't tell you how safe and lovely it is in the world of The Archers, but not in a kind of silly way, just in a kind of really nice people doing important jobs well. It's very what the BBC does best. But yeah, I mean, I'd watch it. But yeah, we're talking to people and there's lots of meetings that should have been emails. But yeah, I hope one day to see that. But it's not coming to a screen near you anytime soon. It just seems like a really good idea.
It does. It seems like an excellent idea. You've already got 3 books out of it, have you?
Yeah.
And presumably there are endless others. You just have to keep going. And yes, but before that, I'm imagining.
The Archers in the Stone Age. I mean, yeah, we could just keep going back. And it is, of course, the war is just like prime Archers going to time, isn't it?
Yes.
All that kind of gritting your teeth and getting on with it and putting up with rationing. And I had a ball writing those books.
And presumably you have many more planned coming out, surely? Don't stop.
No, they haven't asked for any more.
And do you need their permission to do that?
Yes and no. The problem is, the plan was always that the end of the last book in the trilogy would be the day of the first episode of the radio serial. So we're getting a crossing of the universes and a crossing of ley lines. So I can't get my Archers to do what I want them to do.
But what about, like Star Wars did it, for God's sake?
Yeah, that's true.
Surely prequels are prequel. I mean, also like the American TV series Yellowstone has about 4 spin-off series already, pre-that and then pre-that and pre-that. I mean, the question, I suppose, is whether you'd be allowed to. Do you need to apply to them for the IP and all that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you do. And you have to share the profits with them. So, yeah, you do. But, I can parley this into a pension if I keep yakking. But that is the idea, to kind of flesh it out and make it, really nice sort of period thing. But I can't do it on my own, Laura.
You mean for the TV series?
Exactly. So we'll work on that. But it was a joy and is a continuing joy to write about the Archers, I have to say.
Excellent. Well, we have come to the end of the show. How was it for you, Bernie?
It was lovely. It was really lovely. I enjoy the podcast anyway, and it's surreal to be on this end of it, I have to say. And thank you for being so gentle with me, Laura.
Well, I'm not quite sure what you thought I should be doing. But having heard your offcuts, do you think any of these offcuts are worth going back to and having another stab at, or do we think that their time has passed?
I think, if I'm honest, I think their whole time has passed. But hearing Tiddles, I want to write about the cat who burns the prison down. I'm going to forcefully...
And not as a children's book, which the implication is the cat that burnt down the prison.
Exactly. The lifeless cat that burned down. No, I want to get back into Tiddles. I love Tiddles. So I think they're all backdated. I think they're all in my rearview mirror now. I really do think they are, and I think that's great. It's nice to have a very crowded rearview mirror, but it is reminding me actually just how I remember someone saying to Ronnie Barker once when I was a kid watching him on, I think it was on Parkinson, so do you ever worry that you won't be able to make any more jokes, that you've used up all your jokes? And he said, no, it's like writing music. There's only a certain amount of notes, but there's no end to the amount of music you can write. And I think the same is true kind of literary endeavours. It's just like a self-generating machine inside you. It's an engine, and it's kind of nice to be reminded that your engine works. So thank you for that, Laura.
It's absolutely our pleasure. Well, it's been great fun to talk to you today, Bernie, Juliet, Claire, MB, Alice, Catherine and Bernadette.
Thank you.
Best of luck in your new home, and thank you for sharing the contents of your offcut straw with us.
Oh, thank you, Laura.
The Offcut Straw was devised and presented by me, Laura Shavin, with special thanks to this week's guest, Bernadette Strachan. The Offcuts were performed by Shash, Hira, Noni Lewis, Beth Chalmers, Marcus Hutton and Emma Clarke, and the music was by me. For more details about this episode, visit offcutstraw.com, and please do subscribe, rate and review us. Thanks for listening.